I call the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Commissioners, I recall Mr. Ahmad Cham, Finance Director, NAWEC.
With respect to the Honorable Commission, my representation is the same, V. Andrews. I'm legal counsel to Mr. M. Bazi and Mr. Fadi Misaki.
All right, thank you.
Yes, you can have a seat. We remind you of the oath, Mr. Cham, that you're still on the oath. Thank you.
Mr. Cham, yesterday you gave evidence regarding the NAWEC bonds, which were subsequently revised and consolidated. And you also gave us evidence about the composition of the liabilities under the bond.
Yes.
What I would like you to assist the Commission on is with respect to the composition of the liabilities. Again, we have the invoices for heavy fuel, about 24.4 million. The energy charge, IPP, for the IPP, the Independent Power Purchase Agreement, for 28.9 million, and the capacity charge for 10.8 million.
Yes.
Let's start with the capacity charge, which seems to be more straightforward. Can you explain to the Commission the circumstances of the areas that were included as capacity charge, 10.8 million? How did it come about? And why did they become areas? Because from the correspondent, it seems that there was some negotiation during the bond negotiations as to whether capacity charge should be included or not included. That is correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us how it came about?
Okay, thank you. The capacity charge was supposed to recover the cost of investment of the IPP. However, I do not have the contract to ascertain what was the investment cost.
Right.
However, we were
Sorry,
receiving...
let me just interrupt you a moment. Your managing director did not complete his evidence and was supposed to admit some of the documents that have been produced to us. I'm going to give you this folder, which is a folder on the IPP, which is the folder that has some minutes regarding the negotiation of the IPP and the agreement itself, the power purchase agreement, which is dated 30th November 2005. Some correspondence, as well as the handing over of the power plant, the agreement regarding to the transfer of the ownership of the power plant from Global Electric Group to and Euro Africa Group to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. I'm going to show you the file, and if you can identify it as documents from NAWEC, we will have them admitted so that you can refer to them if you wish.
This is the first time seeing the document.
Oh, you haven't seen them before? Okay, then you did not take part in the power purchase agreement process?
No, I was not part of it.
All right. That's fine. I'll take the documents back from you. All right, you can then continue with your narrative. Yes, let me have my file. Thank you.
Okay, concerning the capacity, as I said, capacity charge is supposed to recover cost of investment in an IPP negotiation. We have been receiving invoices from GEG for both energy charge and capacity charge, and now we have been paying up to May 2010, when we received a directive from the Office of the President through the Ministry of Energy that we should stop paying the capacity charge. Nonetheless, GEG were sending their invoices, and we did not pay, but we received the invoices, and they were calculated, and they have been sending different letters to NAWEC that we should pay. Then the managing director wrote to the Office of the President for clarity.
You have those documents?
Yeah, I have the letters.
Why, do you know why a directive issued that you should stop paying the capacity charge?
I wouldn't know why.
You wouldn't know why?
In fact, we just received the letter through the Minister of Energy.
Okay. Can
I don't have the copy of the directive.
You have the letters. Give us the date of the letters. And you have all the correspondence relating to the issue of the capacity charge between yourselves, the government, as well as with GEG or Euro Africa Group. Just put them together.
Yeah, I have all of them.
Okay.
The letters from GEG, the letters from Minister of Energy, and the letter we wrote to Minister of Finance, copy OP.
Can I have the folder, please?
I have it.
The blue folder.
Mr. Cham, just a quick one. Was GEG aware you had a directive to stop paying?
Yes, we wrote to them. They are aware.
They were not copied on the original directive. Why did they keep sending invoices despite the directive?
They were not copied.
They were not.
They were not copied, no.
So you had to inform them unilaterally?
We had to inform them, yes.
And despite your information, they didn't stop?
No, they didn't stop me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You have the documents?
Yes, I have
Put them together. The date of the directive, give the date of the directive again. The date of the directive that you should stop paying.
May 2010.
2010. It seems the power purchase agreement was signed on the 30th November 2005. So this was almost 5 years after the power purchase agreement was signed. Now you said something about capacity charge being related to the value of the investment.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
It's supposed to be for them to amortize their investment over a period.
Right.
Do you know whether any period was agreed during which Euro-Africa Group or GEG were expected to recover their investment in the Brikama IPP?
No, I wouldn't know because I was not aware of the contract. I didn't see the contract.
The invoices that were being sent appeared to be only for a period. Could you confirm the period, the period of the invoice, the period during which the invoices were sent and which accumulated to the amount that was included in the bond?
Yeah, the period was from May 2010 to August 2011.
Why that period? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Because the IPP did go beyond August 2011.
As I said, I didn't see the contract, so I wouldn't know the period of the contract.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll just receive the documents and get someone who can explain. So you were involved in the negotiations during the negotiations for the bond.
Yes.
What was the position of NAWEC in relation to the capacity charge?
NAWEC felt that we should not pay the capacity, and we wrote a letter to the Minister of Finance that they should not include the capacity based on the directive we received from the Office of the President.
All right. What is the date of it?
Sorry?
Yeah, what happened, yes?
We did not receive any response from Minister of Finance or Office of the President. And later on, we realized that the capacity charge balance was included in the bond.
What is the date of the letter you wrote to the Office of the to the Ministry of Finance, you said?
18 November 2014.
Okay, add it to the bundle. Just for the record, what did you say in your letter? It's not a long letter, is it? What did you say in your letter?
Sorry, the date was on the 8th of December 2014. We wrote two letters, one to Global Trading Group, that was 18 November. And on the 8th of December 2014, we wrote a letter to the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Energy. You want me to read the letter?
It's a short one, isn't it?
Yeah, the above
Yes.
payment of capacity charge to GEG on the IPP contract. The above refers to a letter addressed to Global Trading Group in which NAWEC maintained that the amount associated to the capacity charge amounting to $10,824,000 US shall not be paid because the directive was issued in 2010 for NAWEC to stop the capacity charge payment. However, in a meeting held on the 4th of December 2014 at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, which was chaired by the Finance Minister and graced by the Minister of Energy, Governor of Central Bank, NAWEC and Global Trading Group, the meeting requested that NAWEC seek clarification from executive as to whether the directive can still be maintained. It is against this background that NAWEC wishes to request the Minister of Energy to seek advice from executive on this subject matter. The said directive, as well as NAWEC's recent letter to GTG, is attached for ease of reference. Looking forward to your usual guidance and support. Signed, Ibrahim Asanya, Managing Director.
Thank you. Do you know whether the Ministry of Energy wrote to the Office of the President?
Let me see. Yes, the Minister of Energy wrote.
What is the date? What is the date of their letter?
On the 18th of December 2014.
Was there a response? They wrote to who? Is it this
Secretary General,
Secretary General.
and Minister of Presidential Affairs.
Was there a response?
There was no response.
As far as you know. All right. Can you put those documents together, Mr. Cham? I'm going to show you a document, which is a letter from the Ministry of Finance to the Secretary General, signed by two ministers, Honorable Abdul Kuli, Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, and Honorable Saja Sande, Minister of Energy, in which the letter is, for the record, dated 15 September 2015, reference MFC/C/16A/AK, in which the ministers are asking for the capacity charge to be included in the 5-year bond. I'm going to show it to you, whether it doesn't seem to be copied to NAWEC, whether you are aware of it.
I'm not aware of this letter. I'm just seeing it now. In fact, the date of the letter shows 15 September 2015, when the bond has already been implemented.
The bond had already been signed.
The bond was signed in March.
In March 12, 2015.
Yes.
Can you look at also there is a letter attached to it, a response, one line from the Office of the President. Was that letter copied to NAWEC?
No. This was sent to, is a letter from the Office of the President to Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs.
Approving
approving the letter
request,
that, the previous letter, yes.
All right. What's the date for the record?
30th September 2015.
Now, at this stage, you were the finance director.
Yes.
Are you saying, Mr. Cham, that the Ministry of Finance did not consult NAWEC in the writing of that letter? Did they consult NAWEC?
Whether they consulted NAWEC?
Yes. When that letter was written?
I'm not aware of that. This letter was written by the Minister of Finance and it was signed by the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Energy.
The two ministers?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And it was after the bond has already been signed.
All right. Could you add it to the bond? I'm going to apply to have it admitted. Can I have the documents collected, please?
I need a copy of that. That's my copy.
So as at the time that the bond was signed, as at the time the bond was signed. Were you shown anything, that is by you, I mean finance, NAWEC, were you shown anything from finance or central bank regarding this 10.8 million capacity charge?
No, that was the end of it. Once the bond was signed, it was never discussed.
Sorry, can I just ask a quick question on the capacity charge? Mr. Cham,
Yes.
you mentioned that there was a directive for the charges to be stopped, from NAWEC to stop paying the charges, the capacity charges. But you also mentioned yesterday, whilst giving evidence, that you did a reconciliation with Euro-Africa, on the invoices that were outstanding. Capacity charges was part of it, was it?
Yes, that was before the directive
Yes.
and after the directive.
No, before the bond was signed, you did a reconciliation with Euro-Africa, right?
Yes.
Going through the various invoices outstanding and then adding it to your list. Okay? But then you mentioned that prior to that, the directive had been issued that the capacity charges should stop, which was being adhered to by NAWEC, right?
Right.
So when the bond negotiation was also happening, you also wrote to Ministry of Finance seeking clarification on if the directive still holds or not, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just a bit confused on that. If you're saying that there was this directive to stop this, but when you did the reconciliation with Euro-Africa, the charges also were accepted to be part of the bond. I don't know, there's a bit of a disparity. Or am I missing something?
No, you are right. You are not missing anything. The issue here is Global Electrical Group, GEG, refused to waive the invoices that they have already sent to NAWEC. For them, it's a liability that NAWEC should pay. That's why it was included in the reconciliation. But it was separate.
Yeah, because if you're saying that NAWEC had a directive to stop, they stopped, GEG refused, they continue to add it. But then why sign off on the reconciliation that you're accepting the figures on NAWEC's behalf?
Yeah, because we got a letter from OP that we should, before the handing over of the plant is executed, NAWEC should pay all the liabilities to GEG. And for them, those invoices are part of the liabilities. But like I said, we wrote that we shouldn't pay, it shouldn't be part of the bond. But OP did not respond that we can take it off.
What date was OP's letter? When, roughly?
It's already...
I'm sorry, I just want to...
There's a letter signed by...
It's the 30th of September 2015.
So that's what we are saying. This is after the bond had been signed.
No, there's another letter signed by Dr. Njoguba in the bundle.
Let me just give you the documents back. Can you give him the documents back?
The letter was dated on the 6th of March 2013. It was written to Managing Director, GTG, and copied to Minister of Energy, NAWEC, GPA, Social Security, and GNPC. It's a 2-page letter. And
maybe you might want to read the relevant portion on which you relied in response to Commissioner.
on the third paragraph, the letter reads, NAWEC shall work out a sustainable payment plan towards its liabilities with GEG and Euro-African Group on the IPP and HFO supplies respectively. Both GEG and NAWEC should conclude this once the handing over of the plant is completed. The government of the Gambia shall work out a comprehensive payment plan together with GEG towards the capacity charge of $10.8 million US. GEG shall be invited to a meeting on this matter. This was dated 6 March 2013. Signed by Dr. Njogu Elba, Secretary General.
Okay, going further from that, did I hear you correctly by saying the cost of the IPP, you were not privy to the agreement?
Yes.
So you don't actually know the cost of the investment?
No, I don't know.
And this was not available within NAWEC's perimeters, or?
I wouldn't know because this was 2005, as I just saw the document today.
Yes, but even if it's 2005, but I guess handing over, things would have been handed over to the relevant staff, or you're just paying? Because I guess you're getting invoices every month, but you cannot check to anything that it's in line with the agreement or anything of the sort.
No.
What was the basis for NAWEC being asked to stop paying the capacity charge? Do you know?
No, I don't know, because the letter was written by PS, Minister of Energy.
But it didn't just come from the blues, right? There was a discussion that led to that letter coming.
I'm not aware of the discussions.
So do you know if NAWEC had already paid the capacity charge? Did you pay any part of it?
Yeah, we have been paying up to May 2010.
And then all of a sudden you were asked to stop?
To stop, yes.
Was that because it was fully paid, according to your schedule or estimation? There has to be a reason why you are asked to stop now. What percentage was paid at the time, based on your
We were
report?
looking for the letter, but we didn't see it. So there was no correspondence why the capacity charge was stopped.
But that's a problem. Now, the letter from the Minister of Energy, did it have blessings from the OP? Was there any copying of the OP?
No. I think the letter that was just given to me from the OP was dated September 2015. That was when the bond has already been signed.
So there was a total disconnect in terms of communication between Energy and the Office of the President. There was no consultation.
As far as the letters I saw.
Yeah, there was no consultation, because one is saying stop and the other is saying include it in the bond.
I wouldn't know why the break, but that's what I found.
Okay. Now, you found that because you were not in the function of the head of finance at the time, or it was somebody else running with this whole thing?
Yeah, I was not head of finance at the time.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, on this again, for me, it's just concerning that NAWEC gets invoices every month. They're just paying, but you don't know whether you've paid the cost, fully paid, what percentage is left, but you just continue to be paid. And then GEG also is saying that there's a balance remaining. Because I think even if we didn't have the agreement in place, maybe the request could have been made by GEG to give you the document. I'm just finding it a bit strange that you're just paying without knowing what you're paying for, So it's okay, that's aside. But going back to a claim made by one of the witnesses here, Mr. Conte, he said that, whilst giving evidence, that the capacity charges was fully repaid by NAWEC. But then, they continue to be invoiced. So if he's making that statement, we don't also know, NAWEC doesn't know whether you fully repaid. What is right? What do you say on that? What's your take?
We refer to the contract. I think you have a copy of the contract.
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay.
Yes, so because you're head of finance.
Okay, my take on this is the contract should stipulate the cost of the investment then you calculate the capacity charge based on the cost of investment. But if the cost of investment is not mentioned, maybe it was just indicated that capacity charge will be paid for the rest of the contract. That's why they were charging. But that is not privy to me because I didn't see the contract.
Okay.
All right. Can I have those documents from Mr. Chan? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another element that made up the bond is the energy charge and the heavy fuel supply. Now, in relation to, or in the documents that you tendered yesterday,
Yes.
there were documents relating to the discounting of checks. Discounting of checks
Discount.
by Euro-Africa Group. Checks issued, post-dated checks issued by NAWEC to Euro-Africa Group. My first question regarding this is whether the cost of discounting those post-dated checks, part of which seem to have been borne by NAWEC, impacted the bond in any way.
Actually, the cost of the discount was not part of the bond. What happened in 2012?
None of the cost of the discount was part of the bond?
No, it was not part of the bond.
Okay. All right. Can you tell us what the discounting of those checks was all about? And whether NAWEC paid the cost of discount and how much NAWEC paid in relation to the discounting of checks issued by NAWEC, if you have the information?
The documents I found was that in 2012, the managing director wrote to Office of the President or Minister of Finance informing that DEG is requesting for NAWEC to pay 50% of the cost of the discounted checks.
All right. Before you talk about that cost, how did the discounting of checks issued, how did NAWEC come to be issuing post-dated checks in the first place to GEG? And how did the discounting of those checks arise?
Okay, the issue here is if they issue an invoice, NAWEC is not in a position to pay the full invoice. So they requested that NAWEC give them post-dated checks. So they'll take the post-dated checks to the banks and then give it to the bank. Whatever they did with it, I was not aware of that until we received a letter that we should share the cost of the discount.
Do you have that letter?
Yes.
The letter that you should share the cost?
Yeah, we have that.
All right. What is the date of the letter?
November 2013.
(2013).
2013.
Where is the letter from?
The letter is from Euro-African Group, addressed to NAWEC, attention Alaji Jallo.
Was it copied to anyone? Any other office?
No, this one was not copied to anyone.
Could you read at least the relevant portion relating to their request about the bearing of the cost or sharing of the cost of discount of those checks?
Okay, before that letter, on 24th of December, on 26th of November 2012, We got a letter from Secretary General Mustafa Kamara.
Who, sorry, repeat the name.
Mustafa Kamara.
Mustafa Kamara.
He signed for the Secretary General, and copy Chairman, Board of Directors, NAWEC.
Yes, what was that letter about?
Following a receipt of your NAWEC stroke OPGN Volume 6 stroke 148, dated 19 November 2012, I'm directed to convey executive directives that we have to stick to the agreement, and Euro-Africa has to accept this once, since they accepted the other ones before. After this, a formula has to be worked out to share the cost of discounting charges if this is feasible next time. In other words, NAWEC wrote for clarity, and then OP responded that we should work out a modality.
Now, you did not refer to NAWEC's letter. Was there a previous letter from NAWEC to Office of the President?
I do not have that. I have the December one.
Okay, that's fine. If you don't have it now, we will need to have all the correspondence.
24th December 2012.
That's the one from Office of the President.
No, this is written by NAWEC to SG.
You tell us about it. You don't have to read it. But what was the purpose of the letter?
We wish to inform you that as per the directive dated 26 November 2012, requesting NAWEC to work out a formula to share the cost of discounting, NAWEC and Euro-Africa, after a consultation, have agreed to share the cost of discounting post-dated checks associated to the above supplies, equally 50%. Agreement here attached.
Who signed that letter?
Ibrahim Sanyang, the managing director.
The managing director.
Yeah.
So basically, Mr. Cham, you're saying that Euro-Africa Group requested that you meet the part of the cost of discounting of those checks.
Yes.
With commercial banks.
Yes.
And the Office of the President directed that you should work out a formula.
Yes.
And NAWEC did work out a formula which is 50-50.
Yes.
What was the basis of the formula, 50-50?
According to them, since we are supposed to pay the invoice upon maturity, 30 days after the invoice, and we were unable to pay, they will take the post-dated checks and discount it at the bank. However, they have been doing it, but they realized that it's costly on them, so they decided to approach NAWEC to share the cost.
Did NAWEC agree to the discounting of the checks? If you give post-dated checks, that is an agreement that the money will be taken from the bank when the check matured.
Yes.
Did you agree with them that they could take those checks and discount them, which means they could take an earlier value for the checks? Did you agree with them?
No, we did not agree to that. It was their own decision to take it to the bank.
Did any of those checks bounce at any time?
Sometimes one or two will bounce, and it will be represented.
They will send to you for collection?
Yes.
Payment? All right. Can I have the correspondence? I'm sure the commissioners have questions.
Mr. Cham, here, just a quick one. Why, when Eagle wrote to NAWEC, why would NAWEC also write to OP seeking for clarification? I'm just trying to understand the dynamics.
I wouldn't know the answer why. Maybe the managing director will know.
But I'm sure the MD consulted with you prior to doing, on the best way forward as head of finance, because your role is so critical to the institution.
This was in 2012. Then I
Or
was
whoever was there. Yes, I mean, yes.
Then I was not the head of finance.
Okay, fair enough.
Mr. Chairman, have you worked out the total cost to NAWIC of these discounted checks, the cost that NAWIC had to bear?
The total cost?
Yes, of the discounting of the checks, the 50%.
Yes, we can.
Okay. We would like you to provide that information for the record. The three agreements have been admitted before this commission in relation to heavy fuel. The first one in 2002, which was the first agreement, giving Euro-Africa Group or Global Trading Group exclusivity for the supply of heavy fuel to NAWIC, which was extended in 2007 up to 5 years. It was extended again in 2012. These have been exhibited as 89, Mr. Chairman, Exhibit 89. Among those documents, and according to both the testimony of both Mr. Conte and your Managing Director, Mr. Fatajo, the 17% markup included an element, 3%, for the construction of tanks at Halfdye. The tanks were not constructed, and there is a letter, Exhibit 89B from Global Trading Group, explaining why the tanks were not constructed, and that NAWIC would be compensated by free storage. Now, your MD, Mr. Fatajo, did point out that according to both agreements, Global Trading Group was supposed to deliver fuel to NAWIC at Kotu. So the question of storage did not arise. The question I have for you as Finance Director is whether the 3% markup, which was part of the 17% markup in 2002 and 2007, did it extend to after 2012?
I was not part of the negotiation, but the markup was always included in their invoices. So I wouldn't know that difference of 3%.
Okay.
What was the basis for the 3%?
Was the markup 17% during all those times that Global GEG or Global Trading Group supplied fuel?
Yes, from the beginning.
It was always 17%.
Yeah.
So as far as you know, this issue of the 3% and the non-construction of a facility at Halfdye, was it discussed at all during the time that you negotiated this bond?
I was not part of the negotiation.
The bond?
The bond?
Yes, during the time you negotiated the bond, did it come up?
No, it didn't come up, no.
During the whole period that you are manager at in the finance department at NAWIC, and you became subsequently the director, did this issue of the non-construction of a facility at Halfdye, was it ever raised and with Global Trading Group again?
I heard of it during the commission, but I never heard of it.
You never heard of it until the commission?
Yes.
What we would like you to do, because you're the finance director at the moment, is to go back to your records and confirm how this 3% markup that, according to Mr. Fatajo or Mr. Conte, was a markup on the, in order to cater for, markup in the agreement in order to cater for Halfdye, and which seems to be consistent with the letter of Global Trading Group dated 11th August 2006, how it was treated. We would like to know how it was resolved, and if ever it was resolved. And also, we would like you to calculate how much this 3% markup would be from 2002, when the contract was entered into, to be specific, 26th of July 2002 to 30th of July 2012, when the final extension was given, and thereafter.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I note from the extension that was given in 2012 that it was given for only 1 year, 2013,
Yes.
up to 2013.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be any other agreement, yet Euro-Africa Group continued to supply heavy fuel. What was the arrangement after the extension ended in 2013?
I'm not aware of the agreement. I know they were supplying, and it was later tendered, and GNPC won the tender.
Which agreement are you not aware of?
From 2013, after the 1 year elapsed.
There was a memorandum of understanding by which, between Global Trade, this is SC 89B, in the bundle marked SC 89B yesterday. The memorandum of understanding dated 15th day of July 2012 extended the agreement to the 31st of July 2013. That was the main clause. We assume it was, of course, extended with all its terms and conditions. So you are saying you are not aware of any agreement after that?
Yes.
So on what basis was Euro-Africa Group still supplying fuel? They did continue to supply fuel, did they not?
As I said, I was not in the negotiation, but they were supplying, and it was later tendered. And GNPC was supplying now.
All right. We will get someone else to explain, if they can, what happened.
But even if you are not in the negotiation, did you have a system of governance in NAWEC where things could be explained, even if you are not part of it? It's either you took directives from OP or the MD made the decision. So why were they still supplying?
I wouldn't know why they were supplying.
There's no corporate reason from NAWEC side. As finance director, you should know. Maybe it was a management decision. Was it a NAWEC management decision to keep them supplying, or was it a directive from OP making you continue?
As I said, I was not part of the negotiation, and I was not the finance director at the time, so I wouldn't know why they continue to supply.
And NAWEC has no system of governance that when you come in as finance director, you can look at the records and find out why things went on the way they went.
Yeah, there's government, there's governance issue there, and you can look at the records. But
there's a governance issue.
I mean, there's governance in NAWEC. You can look at the records, but those records are not available. You have
minutes of meetings, board decisions, there are files telling you. That's a relevant question. Why did they continue supplying? It's either a board decision, a management decision, or a directive.
Yeah,
we can't keep guessing those things.
We can look at the records and see whether there was a management decision or a board decision.
All right, thanks.
Can you tell us the period covered by the discounted checks, during the period during which the checks were being discounted and NAWEC was bearing 50% of the cost? How long did this last?
It was from 2012 to 2015.
It went on until 2015.
Yes.
So how are you sure that the cost did not form part of the liabilities?
Because we did the reconciliation and it was not part of it.
So how did it work? You would issue post-dated checks and they would go to the commercial. How did it work? Let me not put words in your mouth. So for instance, if you issued post-dated checks to Trust Bank, to Euro Africa Group on Trust Bank.
For example, if we issue post-dated checks worth of 10 million, they will take it to Trust Bank or EcoBank, discounted there, and then EcoBank will write to GTG, showing them the cost of the discount. They will further write to NAWEC, attach the letter from the bank, and claim the 50% of the discount.
Who would write, GTG or the bank?
GTG will write. GTG will write to NAWEC because the bank did not agree with NAWEC for the discount.
And who did you pay, the bank or GTG? Who did NAWEC pay the cost of the discount, 50% of
NAWEC would pay GTG.
What was the interest applied?
It varies from bank to bank. EcoBank was charging 21%.
21%?
Yeah, according to the records I saw. And
Trust Bank?
Trust Bank, I cannot remember how much they were charging. But because they deposit the check with the bank, so the bank will debit their account and then give them a letter or a debit note. So they would write to NAWEC and copy the debit note, including the letter, to ascertain the cost of the discount. And then we'll share the cost at 50-50.
Was NAWEC part of the negotiation with the bank as to the costs that would be applied?
No, NAWEC was not part of it.
Okay. Do you have any other documents on these issues there? Do you have any other documents on the issues we have
I think I
testified on?
I gave it to you.
I'm going to apply to have admitted the documents you have produced. You've given me everything.
Yes.
You don't have any other documents you wish to draw to the attention of the Commission?
This is for the capacity charge with the letter from the, maybe this is part of the document.
Part of?
The capacity charge.
What is that letter?
This is the letter written by Managing Director NAWEC on the 18th November 2014 with the attached letter from Minister of Energy.
Can you please collect the letter?
With reference to OP and the correspondence between NAWEC and OP, was NAWEC at any point in time under OP as a line ministry? Or you were always with Energy? Or what was your line ministry?
There was one time NAWEC was under OP, but I cannot remember the year.
For a brief period?
Yes, at one point, yes.
So what was OP's interest in giving you directives with regards to your dealings with Euro African?
I wouldn't know why they had interest.
Well, they seem to have been helping management, NAWEC management, make decisions or took decisions on NAWEC management's behalf. So from your governance perspective, was everything adequate? What was the point of them intervening if things were running well?
Like I said, at one point, OP was overseeing NAWEC when there was no Minister of Energy. And you know, as Minister of Energy had been going in and out, so I don't know the time they were overseeing NAWEC.
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
Mr. Jam, I just want to understand, the IPP, when was it transferred or handed over to NAWEC? What, roughly, just a year?
2013.
2013. Okay. So what has been captured in NAWEC's books?
Actually,
Not exact. I don't want figures. I just want like roughly. Yes.
we don't have the value of the assets because they indicated that if NAWEC did not pay their liabilities, the plant will not be handed over to NAWEC. We are yet to get the official transfer with the cost of the plant.
Okay. So as of now, zero investment is on the PPE, I guess. Your property, plant, and equipment.
Yes.
So all the payments that NAWEC made, even though there was a liability, I'm sure, well, I am assuming that it was captured in the books.
It's not captured. The cost of the plant is not captured in the books.
Yes, but payments were being made, I guess.
Yes.
And those, I'm assuming here, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong or right, that those are in the books.
Yes.
Money left your account, NAWEC's account.
The payments were for the IPP, the heavy fuel, and then the capacity.
Yes.
So they are all expenses, not capital. They are not assets.
Yes. So at the moment you've treated everything as an expense.
Yes. So at the end of the day, when the restructuring was done, what we have in our books now is the bond as a liability to commercial banks. We have that as a liability.
So let me just reiterate. So money's left your bank account, and then the NAWEC treated it as an expense. So on the property, plant, and equipment, this plant is not reflecting at all.
Yes, you are right. Yeah.
But is this right?
There is no official handing over with the cost of the plant. So as a finance director, I have no legal document to book the cost of the assets or the book balance of the asset as a NAWEC property.
But then would you say it is right also to bring it as an expense? It could have been treated as a receivable and then you reverse your entries? Okay, it's fine. We'll look at the
It's not a
audited
receivable. I
accounts.
think you are not getting the point.
No, money left your account, NAWEC's account. And then you expensed it, which is what you said just now.
Yeah, the money that left NAWEC's account was to buy heavy fuel.
No,
And
I'm
to
talking
pay
about the
energy
plant.
charge.
Yes. I'm only interested in the plant at the moment, yes.
Yeah, the plant, there is no cost element attached to the plant, as far as I know. So it's not coming in our books and it's not registered in our books.
Yes. So we're coming back to the same thing. I think we're understanding each other. But what I wanted to understand was, capacity charges was being paid to GEG, which is the cost of the investment.
Yes.
Yes. Every month you mentioned that amounts were being paid based on the invoice.
Yes.
Good. So I just wanted to understand how it was treated in NAWEC's books.
It was treated as an expense.
So NAWEC is treating it as an expense?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted 2 bundles of documents, one relating to the payment of capacity charges by NAWEC to Global Trading Group, and the other relating to the discounting of post-dated checks for Euro-Africa Group.
Correspondence for the period 24th December 2012 to 9th April 2014 between NAWEC, Office of the President, Eagle, FIB, Eco Bank, and Trust Bank. Discounting of post-dated checks of NAWEC for Eagle, as the Euro-African Group, admitted marked in a bundle SC92A. Correspondence for the period 18th November 2014 to 30th September 2015 between NAWEC, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance, Euro-African Group, Global Trading Group, GTG, and Office of the President and Central Bank, payment of capacity charges. Admitted marked SC92B.
Mr. Chair, just one question regarding capacity, going back to capacity. I see in SC91C, which is the reconciliation that was included in the bond, and which made up the $10.824 million, indicates that the capacity at a flat rate of $721,600. Is this the rate that applied from the inception of the contract in November 2005 to monthly invoice for the 6 years?
Sorry, that was the monthly invoice for the capacity
For the 6 years of the contract, because November 2005
yes.
to August 2011 is almost 6 years.
I didn't know when it started, but I know that was the monthly invoice.
You don't know when it started?
Yeah.
The contract was signed in November 2005. That is November, what date in November? November 30th, 2005.
Yeah.
But you don't know, of course, one doesn't know when the generators actually started producing. Can you kindly...
I remember on TV, it was shown on TV, live or recorded, in July 2006.
July 2006.
When it was inaugurated, yes. It was on GRTS.
We would like you to pull out all the invoices for the period, for us to confirm whether this was the capacity charge from inception and when it started, when NAWEC actually started paying.
From 2005?
Whenever. Yes, you would have a record. You have difficulties with that?
We may have some, but this is 2005. Right.
But you would have a record to show
when... we have records, yes.
To show when NAWEC started paying this capacity charge?
Yes.
Yes, we would like to know how much NAWEC actually paid by way of capacity charge.
Okay.
Because if you started paying in 2006, it would still be 5 years.
Yes.
Now, 5 years times 721,600 every month. It's about...
That's about 43
60
million.
months, right? Yes, 60 times 721,600. That's in the region of 43 million, yes, dollars.
Yes. I did the calculation, but I don't have the evidence.
You did the calculation?
Well,
yeah, then tell us how much NAWEC paid by way of capacity charge. You did the calculation?
I'm not in a position to tell how much actually NAWEC paid.
We would like you to provide the information, please.
Yeah.
I have no further questions for Mr. Cham today. We would like you to work on the invoices that I have indicated, and I had previously indicated as well,
Okay.
so that it is clear what exactly is
Was paid.
included in the bond.
Mr. Cham, NAWEC owed Euro-African $64 million,
Yes.
you mentioned. At that time, what was the total annual revenue of NAWEC
This is
during the
2000.
time of contracting this debt? Do you know the annual?
It's about $2.6 billion.
Dalasi.
Yeah, $2.6 billion.
So how did this debt accumulate so much against the backdrop of?
Yeah, because it was not paid. The monthly invoices were not paid because of the financial inability for the company to pay. The cost of the production was more than the revenue. In other words, the tariff was not cost reflective.
So why did NAWEC accept it? You are not in a position to negotiate or find better terms. Could you give us the background? Why
Okay.
so much debt against
Okay,
so little income?
Whenever there is a tariff review, NAWEC apply through PURA, and PURA will forward it to Office of the President for approval. So NAWEC is not fully responsible for giving a tariff that is cost reflective.
But that's on the revenue side. What
Yes.
about on your cost side? Were you in charge of how much debt you could contract with regards to your dealing with Euro-African?
Yeah, because they supply heavy fuel, so if there is
But
no
you
fuel,
decide how much to take and when? They didn't just come and dump it on you.
as and when it is necessary, fuel is delivered whenever
So
it is
all
necessary.
this was upon your request?
Yes. The fuel was upon our request.
Okay. Legitimate 64 million, you
And then
owed them. Correct?
What I do not know whether the contract was on NAWEC's request, but that led to the energy charge and the capacity.
Well, so that brings us to the question, how did NAWEC negotiate contracts? Who were the parties who protected NAWEC's interests? You had an MD, you had a finance director, you had counsel. Your contracts, were they reviewed by your lawyer?
At the moment, as we speak,
No. We're talking the time the debt was being.
unfortunately, at that time, I was not a senior staff, so I wouldn't know.
Well, you see, Mr. Cham, I asked if you had a system of governance. So whether you were there or not, if the governance system was in place, you will know who were the parties to these negotiations. You mentioned, I think in one of the contracts, the value was not even there, right? The contract value was missing.
Yes.
So who negotiates on behalf of NAWEC?
I don't know.
You don't know. The files can't tell you.
I saw the contract today, so I don't know who negotiated the contract.
But as a management, you said you occupied some role before becoming a head of finance. You were not curious enough to look at the files to find out who represents NAWEC during these negotiations?
I was never privy to the contract. I saw the fuel contract, but not this.
You were not privy.
No,
And your finance director, your boss never shared these
no.
procedures, yeah? Okay. Now, on the counterparty, you didn't owe the banks. You only owed Euro-African. Why did you agree to take on bank debt? Did you consider the bond as a way out to reduce your debt with Euro-African? Was it a lifeline? Was it a burden? What led you to acceptance of bank debt? A bond is an IOU note. You never owed the banks.
Is that what you understand from my yesterday's statement?
That's what I understand.
According to my statement, NAWEC owed the banks $347 million.
Which banks?
Trust Bank, Basic Bank, GT Bank, and Eco Bank.
Okay.
So it was a meeting that was convened by Minister of Finance That
I know the genesis of the bond. I was also a banker. So why did you agree to take on the bank debt on behalf of Euro-African? What you owed the banks, that was bilateral. My worry is Euro-African owed the banks and you agreed to take on that debt. That's the bit I'm interested in.
I wouldn't know why was the restructuring, because it was engineered by Minister of Finance. Maybe they are in a better position to answer that question. No, Minister of Finance.
You were running NAWEC. You had a company whose interests you were supposed to protect. So if you're going to sign on a contract, it has to have a basis. Were you forced to come to the table?
I did not sign the contract.
No, but you are here to represent NAWEC. So when I talk to you, I'm talking to NAWEC, not Mr. Cham as an individual. So let me rephrase. What was the basis for NAWEC accepting to come to the table to accept Euro-African's debt to the banks?
Because NAWEC or Euro-Africa.
I know that.
And it was restructured to a bond. Because NAWEC
so you consider it a way out, a relief?
It was a way out for the banks, but not for NAWEC.
So
because NAWEC was paying post-dated checks.
Precisely.
It was a way out for the banks, because banks took $38 million US from the banks, and they were not paying because they said NAWEC was not paying. So it was a way out for the banks.
A way out for the bank.
Because it affected the banking sector.
So why did NAWEC sign? Because you certainly defaulted. You couldn't meet the cash flows to pay.
Yes.
Why did NAWEC sign?
Because it was agreed in the meeting with Minister of Finance, Central Bank, commercial banks, and GTG.
It's an agreement that you just admitted wasn't good for you. It wasn't good for you. It was a way out for some of the banks. It was better for the banks, not good for you. The reason why you defaulted during the course of payment. So my question is, whose interest was it that NAWEC signed?
I wouldn't know that.
You didn't know. Did you, as far as you know, did NAWEC seek advice before signing on the bond, either legally or from the board?
I cannot recall whether the board was involved, but I know we went to the Minister of Finance for the meeting. So
now you do agree with me that if you have no for an answer to all this, there is a serious governance issue at NAWEC. Because if you have a good system of governance in place, we should be able to verify this very easily. I've not even mentioned the role of the OP in not upholding our own system of governance as a country, let alone interfering with NAWEC. The least a management can do, the least a board can do is to ensure there is a system of governance in place so that whoever comes can run with it.
Like I said, this contract was signed. I was not privy to the contract until today.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about the contract. What I know was we were receiving invoices and we were paying. We defaulted several times. And banks also claimed that GTG took $38 million from them. In fact, my yesterday's testimony, or if you look at the bond, the first bond, the dollar rate was 48. Standard Chartered refused to sign the bond. But in November, when they signed, the rate was $42. Now we gain about $46 million in that exchange rate.
So my question again is there a way of knowing what led NAWEC to sign?
I don't know that.
To its disadvantage?
I wouldn't know why NAWEC was signed. Maybe you can ask the person who signed the contract.
When you come here to represent NAWEC, we do expect you do some homework, either consult those who were there, look at the files. I agree. We were not there, okay. But we do expect some minimum amount of study and probing to understand. Because as finance director now, you represent NAWEC, and you ought to know these things before coming here. Well, if you need time to read, we give you time. but you need to know these things because they're important. Your predecessors, you sit there now, you have to account for them. Under audit, you're not going to tell the auditors, I don't know, ask the guy who was there. You sit there now, so you answer the questions.
But I'm under oath, and I can only tell what I know.
Can you find out?
I was not part of the...
Is there a system in place to help you find out negotiations, terms, and what led to it? Or all you have is just that bond document, the agreement?
Yeah, we submitted the documents, myself, the managing director, and the deputy managing director, and the legal office, legal unit.
So you signed that agreement with your eyes open. You knew the full implication. You just couldn't wriggle out of it. Taking over Euro-Africa's debt from the bank. Did the Minister of Finance ask the MD of NAWEC to sign? Did the governor persuade the MD of NAWEC to sign? What led to NAWEC agreeing to this agreement that was to its detriment?
I said,
you don't know.
I don't know, and I am under oath.
Thank
the person
you.
who signed the bond, maybe you can ask the question.
Thank you.
Just two questions, please. Mr. Chairman, regarding the IPP plant, based on the evidence we heard, it should be, a new plant should have been constructed. We heard contrary that the plant there were leakages and it's not in proper order. Can you give us some info on that?
On the tank?
The IPP plant, the plant.
Can you repeat the question, please?
We heard based on evidence that the IPP plant, a new plant should have been built, constructed.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, but we heard from evidence that there were leakages and, the plant wasn't what it was, I guess, what it was expected to be. Can you shed light on that?
I cannot shed light on something that I don't know. I don't know about that part.
But you work at NAWEC, so how don't you know?
The plant is at Birkama, and we are at Kanifing. I hardly go there. I was there about 5 months ago. I was not there at the inauguration. I saw it on TV like everybody else.
Okay, it's interesting because, I think yesterday one of the key questions that were asked was you've been at NAWEC from 1998?
Yes.
So you have institutional knowledge. So I think some of the things, if you say you don't know, even though maybe you're not the head of finance, it's just interesting. Nobody's putting you on pressure to say what you don't know. But we would expect that you would know as at then. When you're taking over, what was handed over to you? Was it a good plant? As head of finance, I would have been interested to know what you're taking ownership of.
Yes, so, you are right. We requested for the document, the book value of the plant, but it was not given.
And you never visited to see what it's like?
Yeah, we visited the plant.
So that's what we're asking.
I'm not an engineer to ascertain whether the plant, whether it was new or not new. Because I didn't have the cost of the investment. I don't know the contract details. Like I said, I saw the contract today. So I'm not in a position to say whether the plant, the value of the plant.
Which goes to the next question. NAWEC is audited, right?
Yes.
Auditors will come in, they will ask for documents.
Yes.
If you don't have the agreement, what was given to them? Because I'm assuming that audited financials are available. I'm not sure whether we've requested
Actually,
for that information.
they requested for it, but the same answer was given. Because the handing over, the official handing over was not handed over to NAWEC. Because NAWEC owed GTG at the time.
Okay, so I guess in a nutshell, what you're saying is that you're not sure of the status of the plant. You don't know.
NAWEC is operating the plant since 2018.
Yeah, what we want to know is the state of it. You're saying that you don't know. I just want to wrap it up.
What state? In what capacity? What state?
The state, like what was handed over to you. A new plant should have been handed over to you.
A new plant?
No, hang on. A new plant should have been built. Over 5 years, it should have been handed over to you, or whatever period. But we're expecting, even if it's 5 years, there shouldn't be much deterioration, if give or take. So that's what we wanted to know, because we understand that there were loads of leakages and so on and so forth. But you're saying you cannot comment on that?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Counsel, I don't know whether we asked for audited financial statements, please. Did we request from?
I believe we did ask for audited financial statement, but I'll have to check. Okay. Did you receive a request for audited financial statement? I believe the investigators asked for it. I'll have to check.
Maybe you should ask him who was managing NAWIC.
Sorry, Madam, since you are not sure whether or not you've received the financial statement, I think a directive must be given now for it to be handed over to the Commission.
Yeah.
Yes, we can give you a copy.
Very well. You are required, you understand?
Yes.
You are required to provide audited financial statements.
Yes.
From 94, if possible, or 2000 at least.
Yes, maybe from 2000, probably, yes. Let's start with that.
Mr. Cham, could you confirm, if you're in a position to, when NAWEC took over management of the independent power plant?
This was in 2013, September.
That's when you took over management?
Yes.
Before that, who managed it?
GG. GG managed the plant.
They managed it until you took over in 2013?
Yes.
Just one final question. During the time when you were discussing the capacity charge, whether it should be included, or when you took the position that it should not be included, the only reason you seem to have given was that there was an executive directive. Why, let me rephrase, did NAWEC at all consider or put forward the argument that the plant's value had long been recovered by GEG, and therefore no capacity charge should have been paid at some point?
At some point, I cannot remember. I cannot recall NAWEC requesting for it.
You cannot recall NAWEC ever looking into that?
No.
But that's what I don't understand. You did indicate in your evidence that capacity is related to the value of the plant.
Yes.
Now, if capacity charge is related to the value of the plant, it seemed to me a logical position for to take or to explore, to at least confirm that the capacity you had been paying was consistent with the value of the plant that was generating the energy you were purchasing. NAWEC never investigated this. All right, no further questions for Mr. Chan.
Very well, we'll rise.
But how long do we have today? We have one more witness.
Is that? Yes. But we are going to have our program.
With respect to the commission, may I make an application to cross-examine the witness at a later date?
You must. Yes, Councillor Andrews, you were about to say something.
Oh, sorry. Thank you,
I can
Mr.
hear you
Chairman.
now.
Thank you, Honourable Commissioner. I was just wanting to put on record that I would like to cross-examine. I would wish to cross-examine the witness at a later date.
Yes, well, you can do that. Do you want to do it today?
No, I would like to have available copies of the documents that were tendered today before proceeding with any questions I may have for the witness.
Well, then you'll have to liaise with the secretary.
I'm grateful.
All right?
Thank you.
All right. We'll rise now. We'll be back at 2:45. Very well, Counsel. You may call the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Commissioners, I call Dr. Tamsir Mbow